Hi. So it's just been so striking to me how different my conversations have been with parents, even from last weekend to this weekend. Last weekend we were in Sonoma, a whole bunch of us, and we were really going, into a deep dive of emotional mastery and talking about, what the utility of being mad and sad and glad and scared and how to move through those feelings and create calm down corners and, feel well resourced as a parent. Emotionally in terms of coping with stress and giving kids stress coping tools as well. Hi, Catalina. And Jen, nice to see you here. What I really want to speak to right now is like that we are all in a different mode than we were even 72 hours ago. And if you agree, go ahead and let me know in the comments and just like, oh yes, things are changing rapidly or shifting or could be. Some of us are really holding on to normal, and that's helpful. And others of us have really gone deeply into looking at sort of the status of the world right now. But the thing that remains true is that we are parents. We are wholehearted parents who love our kids, and we that's here to stay. And even if we're now having to get our shifts covered or have secure childcare. Hi, Megan. Nice to see you here too. Even if we are now having to pivot to working from home, if we're now trying to figure out how to do Khan Academy with our kids at home or waiting for those packets to arrive. I've heard it all. I've spoken to about 12 families in the last 48 hours, just really getting a sense of what folks are going through and seeing how I can support them. And a few ideas. How are we all going to be able to stay calm in this situation? Manage our stress and pivot. So one of the things that we do have control over is our mindset and how we're sort of framing things. Yeah. And so what I would invite you to do is continue to be vigilant, stay on top of what best practices are, social distancing, universal precautions, hand washing, all of those things. But also think about this as an opportunity. And the reason I say opportunity is because one thing that a lot of us have been struggling with being modern parents is not really having a feeling of spaciousness around our connection time with our kids. And so now we have potentially, for many of us, the opportunity to have these windows of time where they're stuck at home with us, they're not with their childcare provider, they're not at their school with their teachers and their friends, and we're having to, find a way forward together. And so my hot tip for this moment is partner with your kids. Come up with the routine together. Ask them questions about how does your school day actually go? What time is lunch? What time is recess? When do you have these subjects? Things you might already know, but like let them share with you what normal is for them, like what they're used to, what their routines are. And then kind of preview ahead. Okay, so we've got these 2 weeks at home, these 3 weeks at home. How are we going to be able to keep this rhythm going where we have, a decent morning start and nourished, where we have some learning time, where we have some rest time, where we have some recreation time, where we're going to be able to continue to connect with each other and be with each other, but also to be able to maintain a little sense of normalcy. Hi, Monica. Hi, Jennifer. Glad to see you here. And of course, the opportunity in that is like to get a sense of, like what it is that their daily experience is like, to kind of get that reconnection to, what's on their little minds. But also the opportunity is for them to have a little more of that sort of management side of things. Oftentimes we're showing up to the programs that are designed for us, especially children, right? There's an agenda, there's a schedule, and they're not really a part of making it. And so an opportunity that they have right now is to have a little bit of influence about, or at least some knowledge, and share that knowledge of what their routine is and how it serves them. And so with the really little ones, it might be talking about like, oh, you do works during this time. You do some activities during this time. What are some activities we can create right now and put on the shelf in your room that could set you up so that when we have work time on Monday at your usual time, we get to do some of these works. Whether if I was thinking, Monica, I'm thinking particularly of your guy in Montessori land. And then if you have an older child, it could be like, look, like what is a really good pacing? Hi, Carrie. What's a really good pacing of time for study versus breaks? Giving them that sense of like, oh, this is a time where I get to actually like think about like, what is a good like burst of time where I'm studying versus a time of resting. Yeah, exactly. Jennifer, thanks for writing your takeaway. As you're learning always on these lives, throw your comment up into the space for us to see what you're getting out of it, because we all pulled different gems out of these talks, and we can learn from each other. So Jennifer, thank you. But so back to the idea of like they get to have a chance to really see, yeah, great, create the recreate his school schedule. But the key that I want you to think about is how this is an opportunity for them to learn more about sort of like self-manage, like they're one layer of self-management. Now, if they're really young, they're probably not going to be able to be in charge of the whole schedule, but at the very least, we can sit side by side and write it out together and talk about what each piece is, right? So like, what is work time? What is nap time? What is snack time? What is rest time? What is recreation time? And it sounds a little obvious, but what I think we sometimes forget is like how much opportunity there is for growth in the everyday things. And so this could just be a grounding feeling for all of us too, because we might be worried about things like, I've heard in the last 48 hours, especially getting late, kind of getting behind in school, or, having like work stacking up, or, maybe not being prepared for what going back when they return. But just know there are these other soft skills that are opportunities for them to learn right now. So that's my first one, is like going over the schedule together and getting a chance to get a sense of like what their understanding is of the purpose of each part of the day. Actually writing it out and having that plan, really helpful. The next thing is building in choice is another really important thing here. Because it's a blend of being at home and being in school, right? Like they're having to do these academic activities at home, and they're also going to be in, with adults that aren't usually guiding them. See if you can build in some choice. And this could already be present in your school environment, or this could be newer to them. So you're going to want to kind of like look at those two pieces. But what like as an example with a younger child, it might be, hey, sweetheart, we're going to set up, like an art activity. We could do paints today for art, or we could do paints tomorrow. Which would you like? Now, I know, again, this could sound kind of obvious, but sometimes we forget in our panic or in our wish to sort of remain in control, or we might leave it way too wide open. Like, what do you want to do today? Hi, Amanda. Nice to see you so soon. It's like such a treat. And like, what do you want to do today? It could just be super wide open. But like, hey, we're gonna have some creativity time or some art time. Which of these two projects would you like to do? Yeah. So that's the second one. First one is to have them create the schedule with you based on what they know, help them to kind of get that sort of sense of time management, which they often don't get at school. Also giving you a chance to build some structure. Second one is to make sure you build in choices for them that are limited to like the range of what they can handle. Okay. Like if you say, what do you want to eat? You could have anything. What are they usually like? Well, I'll have a cupcake, but if you're like, hey, we need choose a vegetable at the grocery store. Which vegetable do you want to, should we put in our cart? It gives them some parameters, right? Some limited choice. And then the third thing that's going to be happening is that you're going to get some testing. And I really want to speak to this. You're going to get some testing. They're going to be testing to see, are you really serious about them doing their academic work? Are they really serious about following through on like deadlines and things? They're not necessarily used to you being the one kind of holding that, right? And so you're going to want to lay it out for them early on and just be like, look, I'm going to put on a new hat that I only put on usually during homework time, or like I only usually put on when we're in we're working on a project at home. I'm going to put that on. I'm going to put on that kind of teacher hat. And that's when it's time for us to really get down to business. And I'm going to be working too. So those of you who are straddling two things right now, where you're like, how am I going to get my work done? And how am I going to lead my child in their activities? You can create a scene of work. It's work time. Yeah. And so, because what they're used to with us when we have our limited time with them in the morning and the afternoon, and evening, sometimes we don't even get afternoon time with them, is they're used to kind of like reconnection time, launching into the daytime, right, in the mornings, like family consuming entertainment time, right? But they're a little bit less used to like co-working time. So yeah, I saw Carrie wrote, yeah, like I need a crash course in homeschooling. You also need a crash course in co-working for most of us, right? And so a lot of times it's about setting them up with an activity that can really anchor them and being really clear about what it is they need, what cycle they need to complete before they'll have your attention again. And so it could be like, if you just bust out some art supplies and like, hey, why don't you draw a picture? That could be a 10-second activity. They could draw 2 lines and bring it over to you, and haven't even gotten close to starting your project, right? But if you frame it ahead of time and just say, look, I'm going to be doing my work right here. My eyes are going to be on this project. Let's say you work on a computer. My eyes are going to be on this project, and I'm going to need to have my eyes on the screen for on my project for a good 20 minutes. This is for like a younger child. An older child, you might just say like, hey, we're going to need to be creative here. Like, there are times when mommy or daddy is just going to need to focus, what can we do to support each other with this? Because I know you also need to get your packet done, or you also want to try the next Khan Academy lesson or whatever it might be, right? But if you kind of like come to it with an agreement and a plan of just like, look, this is what we're up to. We're calling it this. We're calling it co-working time or work time. And with the younger ones, it's about settling them into a project. And instead of saying like, hey, draw a picture, it could be, so let's fill up this whole paper with color. And when you finish 3 of these, bring it to mommy. And they try to come, or bring it to daddy. And they bring it to you, like, are you done with all 3? And they're like, no. It's like, okay, go, not yet. Make sure you have all 3 done. And trust me, I've been in the middle of 36 children that are all needing to be anchored in their activities. Sometimes by myself, usually not by myself, but like, with one other adult in the room, 12, 24, 36 kids. And I have like mastered the art of helping kids anchor into their activities and being really clear that like, they can't just like call me across the room and I'll drop everything and come over, right? It's just like a totally different setup. So yeah. So Sans iPad, Jennifer, really good question. I love that you guys are putting comments and questions in here. So good. Yeah, so crash course needed. The main thing I would say is give activities that will anchor them and make clear that there is like a multi-step thing that needs to happen before you drop what you're doing and give them your full attention. And try to get more and more comfortable with turning them away and reorienting them back to that activity or goal, reassuring them that when they complete that cycle, you will give them your attention, okay? Yeah, so I gave you a little script there of what it could sound like. So the 3 things, right? Go ahead and build the schedule together. Don't be shy to be like really transparent about like, we're trying to recreate the school schedule. Let's do it together. Let's write it out. The second one is build in choices that are limited that will empower them to feel like they have some influence but are within reason. And the third one is get used to this idea of kind of co-working and settling them into projects and knowing that sometimes you have to turn them away. Okay. More on this. I'm going to be here every Monday at noon for the next, I don't even remember. I think it's 8 weeks or so. But right now, I thought this was a really important topic to speak to as we're heading into Monday with our kids at home and wondering what to do. I'll be popping in as much as possible in the parenting group, sharing more ideas as I have all these different sessions and coaching moments with folks, and really good gems are coming out of them. So stay tuned here. Also, please, if you find any resources that you think are going to be especially helpful for you, to settle your kid into activities and things like that. I've already started a thread here, but you can also throw up share posts into this group so we can all come here as a resource. I know parents have a lot on their plates right now. And I feel you, and I hear you, and I see you, and I believe in you. You can do this. Over in my neck of woods, we're pulling together to even get some, kids study groups together, because this is going to be tricky. But we're all going to get through it together. And in the end, it is an opportunity for our kids to learn a bunch of soft skills and for us to develop this whole other side of our relationships. So if you notice someone else has commented on this thread, go love them up. Reply to them. Say, I see you, I hear you, you got this. Please. We need each other right now. Okay, lots of love to all of you. Till next time, I'll be back tomorrow at noon.